we can start. Okay, hello everyone again. And welcome to our session on strategies and technologies for a successful asset integrity management program, or what we call AIM for short. I'm Inderpreet Shoker, and I also go by Preet, if that's easier for everyone. I'm an analyst at ARC, and I'm a part of the team that covers asset performance management technologies. So with that, a little bit about the session. Like typical ARC breakout sessions, it is going to be a 90-minute long session, and we are going to start off with an introduction presentation from me. And then we'll move on to end-user presentations. We have two great speakers with us. We have William Closer, he's from Idaho National Labs. And we have Rogerio Kars, he's from Braskem. And after that, we are going to have a panel discussion. And with our speakers, we'll be joined for the panel discussion by Bob Francis. He's from Asset Performance Technologies. With that, I'm going to say that if you have any question during the presentation, please hold on to that for the panel discussion. You have a piece of paper in front of you and pen. If you want to use that, that would be helpful, because sometimes human nature, we forget things. And another reminder, please silence your cell phones. That would be very helpful. So with this session, what we want to achieve is that we want to start off with a high-level overview of asset integrity management, or AIM. We'll talk a little bit about the definition and scope, and then we'll also look at some of the leading trends in the space. And as I said, we have great speakers with us who have implemented asset management programs, who have faced the challenges, and I hope we can learn a lot from their first-hand experiences and take away some key pointers, some key strategy with us home. So as I promised, we'll start off with a discussion of definition. And the question is, which definition? Because there are so many around. There's so many definitions. Each company has its own definition of AIM. There are various organizations, there are various committees, and they have their definition. In fact, within the same company, two different departments may have a different understanding and a different meaning of AIM, depending upon the kind of assets they need to manage, depending upon the kind of job responsibilities they have. In fact, at ARC as well, we did a market report on the subject, and we have our own definition because our report was around software and services, so our definition is around that. But for the purpose of our discussion today, I want to start off with a simple definition, without the complication, a very simple definition, because I want to start off with something which we all can relate to, and probably we all can agree to. And that simple definition, according to me, is this: that AIM is the ability, AIM or asset integrity management, is the ability of asset to perform its required function while protecting health, safety, and environment. Now, you may all think that ability of an asset to perform required function, isn't that something that we want from all our asset management strategies, be it plant asset management, or reliability, or EAM, or FSM? And that's absolutely right. That's what the goal is for all of our asset management strategies. But the difference is that with AIM, we want to focus on health, safety, and environment. And now we think, why do we need to focus on health, safety, and environment? Why do we need asset integrity? And I don't have to explain this a lot, because if we don't focus on AIM, many more accidents will happen. So that's why we want to ensure asset integrity, because we want to avoid the probability of these accidents. We want to lower our risk. We cannot eliminate the possibility of accident ever happening. We can never be 100% sure, but what we can do is that we can lower risk by taking good care of our assets. And the thing is that if we manage our assets well, we know they are not going to fail randomly. at least we can lower the probability of that happening, and that will help us lower the probability of a bigger accident. So that's why we need to focus on AIM. So now looking at what is driving AIM and what are the benefits. As we mentioned that there have been many accidents before, and there has been awareness because of that in the industry. So end users are aware of it, and then they are proactively taking care of it. And then obviously, governments all around the world, they want to ensure health, safety, and environment. They want the workers to be safe, and they want to protect the environment. So there has been a lot of push from governments all over the world. They are coming up with strict regulations. They want to enforce strict regulations, and that's what is driving the AIM market. But then, is that the only benefit of AIM to help us protect health, safety, and environment? Well, there is more to it, I think. And going back to the definition, the simple definition with which we started, that it's the ability of an asset to perform required function. If we maintain our assets well, if we know that they are not going to fail randomly, if we know that they are not going to have a big malfunction, there are many more benefits to it. We know it will result in higher availability, better utilization, lower unplanned downtime, high uptime. That means we make more of our product. That means more revenue for the company. So that means financial benefits. So not only HSE, health safety, but also financial benefits can be associated with your AIM strategy, with your asset management initiatives. Okay, so now we want our asset to perform well throughout its life cycle. So I think it's important to look at AIM in relation to asset life cycle and asset life cycle model. And this is the traditional view of asset life cycle model. Show of hands, how many have seen this before? Yeah, it's a pretty popular model. We all have seen it. We go from concept to commissioning to operate and maintain, and then we retire the asset. ARC has actually improved upon this model. We have emphasized the cyclical approach that if we want to maintain an asset for a long period of time, it may have to go through a number of modifications. So it may enter the concept stage again, it may enter the commissioning stage again. But for our purpose and our discussion here, I'll just stick to this model for time, just for the sake of the simplicity. So when we look in terms of integrity, we want to make sure that at the concept stage, we have the design integrity. And we want to make sure that the concept does not lead to any intolerable risk. We want to make sure that our design complies with all the technical and process safety standards. And then we want to make sure that the operation and maintenance procedures are very well defined at this stage before we move on to our next stage, which is construction and commissioning. And then when we move on to the next stage, here we want to ensure the technical integrity. Here we want to make sure that the equipment is manufactured and installed per code. We want to ensure the quality management, and we want to make sure that the operating staff is involved in the startup phases, because they are the one who will be taking care of the asset for the rest of its life, basically. And obviously, we want to focus on audits and reviews. Moving on to the next stage, which is operation and maintenance, which is probably the most important stage, I can say, because this is where the asset spends most of its life. So here we want to make sure that we stick to integrity operating windows. And if we are implementing integrity management strategies, be it RCM, RBI, corrosion management, we want to make sure that these are implemented properly. And we carry out preventive, predictive, and corrective maintenance tasks regularly. We should also report the asset performance and compare it to the performance standards we have. And again, I want to emphasize periodic audits and reviews. So now, just looking at the three components of AIM that we discussed before, design, technical, and operational integrity, we can think of these as the segments of a triangle, going from design integrity at the base because we want to emphasize that how important it is if we have a strong foundation to build on. So that's why we have design integrity at the base, and then we move on, the asset move on to the next stage where we want to ensure technical integrity. And then we move on to the top where we have operational integrity. As I said, operate and maintain. This is where the asset spend most of its life, and probably it's the most important stage, so that's why we have it at the top. And then moving on, we want to emphasize the fact that as we want to maintain the asset for a long period of time, it may go through a number of modifications. So it may go to the design stage again. Here again, we don't want to forget design integrity, technical integrity. And then want to emphasize the importance of audits and reviews at all of these stages. Now we're going to look at some of the key trends that we see in the space. And the first trend I'm going to talk about is digitization. It's a tongue twister for me for some reason. So this is the third day of the forum and the last session of today. So I'm pretty sure that by this time you have heard this probably hundreds of times. I don't know. So we have heard about digitization, digitalization, digital transformation. So there are many terms out there and many different definitions, many different scope. But since it is a key trend, I just want to talk a little bit about this and mention that the scope is really broad. And again, for company A, their digital transformation could be just going from paper-based inspection records to electronic records, and that's their digital transformation. And for company B, who's very advanced, they have all the advanced technologies. For them, it could be integrating their different software systems. So it could mean different things to different companies. It has such a broad scope. In fact, all the other trends that I'm going to talk about can be considered a subset of digitization. The second trend I want to talk about is of digital twin. We have had some discussions here at the forum as well. With digital twin, we mean a virtual representation of a physical asset. And we can do some neat things with it. We can do simulation, testing, all the assets, records, history can be associated with the asset. And there are a lot of benefits from this. The technology have been around for a long period of time. In fact, I came to know that NASA was the first one to use this technology. And to think of it, it does make sense. Yeah, they have an asset millions of miles away, so they need to look at it. They need to look at the digital twin of it to take good care of it. But NASA isn't a typical organization. They don't have to worry about profit as much as many other organizations do. They have kind of an infinite budget. Not these days, but they used to, I guess. So they could afford to use this technology a long period of time. In fact, yesterday we were talking, and our second speaker, William Closer, he mentioned that they had something similar years ago, but they called it simulation, but it also costed them a lot. So the thing is, this technology is becoming more affordable now for all the other companies. We are still not there yet. Yesterday, my colleague, Paula Hollywood, she had a session around digital twin. And we are just starting to hear a few case studies that are kind of around digital twin, but not full-fledged case studies. But I'm really hopeful that we are going to hear more about it in the next coming years. And the next trend I'm going to talk about is remote monitoring. I think this is probably the most widely used application of IIoT. We already have heard a lot about it, a lot of case studies as well. Just yesterday we heard from Dan, he's from Stanford University, how they use remote monitoring to monitor their pumps and then avoid a flood at the university. So a lot of interesting use cases around remote monitoring already. And the next trend, analytics, again, probably something you heard about a lot at this conference. But the thing is, we have so many assets around us, we are generating so much data that we cannot analyze all that data just by looking at it. So that's why we need all this analytics. And another thing is that we are thinking of adding more and more sensors, so that would generate even more data. So we need all this technology to help us with that. And just yesterday in a discussion, somebody rightly pointed out that we are losing the subject matter experts. So when we are going to lose our subject matter experts, how are we going to take care of our assets? And I think analytics can help us with that, so that we can capture all their knowledge. And then some final thoughts or recommendations, we can say. Digitization, I'm not going to go over this again, but just want to say that this is something to explore. If your company is doing it or thinking about doing it, we can explore this more. There could be a lot of benefits around it. Leverage IIoT, again, we are already seeing a lot of use cases. It's something that we should explore. You can see the use cases that we have here at ARC, all the presentations, if it can benefit your company in some shape or form. And partner, lot of changes are happening very rapidly. So many changes going around, and so many technologies are coming up at the same time. We cannot master all these technologies on our own. To better utilize these technologies, we need to partner with others. When I say that, I don't mean that end users should partner with suppliers. Two different end users can partner, and suppliers can partner with another. Just a few hours ago, we heard how Emerson is partnering with Seek. So similar partnerships can happen and should be explored. I think there are various consortiums. There are universities we can partner with. At ARC, we also have an initiative which can probably help companies partner. It's Digital Transformation Council. You can think of that. So a lot of opportunities to partner. Another point I want to focus is that communicate. For any project, it's not only asset management, but in general as well, communication is extremely important. At this conference, we heard how IT, ET, OT, all these need to better communicate with one another, better need to collaborate with one another. And especially, I think, when we talk about safety, the C-level, the top level, need to communicate to the entire company that they prioritize safety, that safety is something they should care about. In other words, we can say that it's all about culture. We need to make sure that the company focus on a safety culture. And last point, that this is my final thought, is that we need to measure ROI, how the technology is benefiting us. Because we have heard it many times before, technology for the sake of technology is not a good reason, is not a good strategy. And sometimes I think it is tough, because for safety, how do you put a dollar value to it? How do you think of it, the fines that you avoid, how do you do it? It's tough. But as I mentioned before, that the safety is not the only benefit with AIM strategies, with asset management strategies. With asset management strategies, it can help in financial benefits as well, as lower unplanned downtime, high uptime means we produce more revenue. So not all strategies, with some strategies we can have quantify the benefit as well. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone.